Hello everybody, it is Citizen bringing you a review of the new Tier 7 American Light Cruiser, the USS Boise. I will also be comparing the ship to the USS Helena, which is the mainline US cruiser, and the ship will also be covering the Tier 7 Pan-American ship, the Nueve De Julio, since Wargaming has stated that they are the exact same ship, the only difference being the nation they are on. Now, hopefully with this review I'll be able to cover whether or not you should buy this ship, if I recommend it, or whether or not it's one that you're just going to want to skip altogether. Now, in comparison to the Nueve De Julio and the Boise, I definitely recommend going for the Boise instead of the Nueve De Julio. The reason for that is that with the American Light Cruiser line having been launched, this ship actually has captains you can put on it and does serve as a captain trainer. If you buy the Nueve De Julio, that ship is all by itself for now. And with each ship, Wargaming has given you a mission to earn the other ships. So once you get 300,000 XP with the Boise, you will earn a Nueve De Julio. So hopefully you can get that done before any Pan-American line comes out. And then you'll have a captain trainer for that line as well. So definitely recommend going for the Boise first. Now, the Boise is our first and only representation of the Brooklyn Light Cruiser class. And so hopefully it's going to represent that class very well. And so, comparing this ship to the USS Helena, what are its weaknesses? What are its strengths? Now, our big strength that we can notice right here, right away with the consumables, is that the Boise does have a heal, whereas the Helena does not. Any damage the Helena takes is permanent, whereas with the Boise, you do have the ability to heal part of it back. Now, this heal is a 2% heal, which is called a super heal in this game. Heals 666 HP per second. Now, you can buff that with the flag. I actually don't recommend it. I think it's rather wasteful. The reason for that being is, yes, you can potentially heal 2% of your max HP per second. That will never happen with this ship. In fact, it is very rare to ever get a full 20-second heal off in this ship. It's just not something that is feasible with the health bar being 33,300 health and the types of damage you take in this game. Essentially, to get 4 max HP heals off in a game, you need to take almost no HE damage or pen damage whatsoever, and all of your damage must come from fires. And that's something that's just not really feasible. So the heal does extend its duration, but it's not as good as it is made out to be. Now, what does the Boise also have over the Helena? Well, that is actually a faster turret traverse at base 18 seconds for 180 degrees compared to the Helena's 22.5. This is significantly snappier, and you will notice it in game. As far as the weaknesses that these guns bring, compared to the Helena, it has a 10-second reload, which is 1.5 seconds lower than the Helena, which sits at 8.5, and is a massive DPM decrease. However, the shell characteristics are going to be the same. Your AP and HE is going to hit just as hard. The other difference with these guns is that they only have a 13.6 kilometer range, which is very significant. The Helena is going to be sitting at around 14.5, giving it much more room to work with, and it is more comfortable in that regards to play. Now, the AA on both ships is relatively the same, not really worth going into. The maneuverability on each ship, however, is another point we have to cover. The Boise does give up 2.5 knots of speed, sitting at only a max speed of 30 knots. The Helena sits at the standard US cruiser speed of 32.5. Now, in real life, the Brooklyn and the Boise could hit 32.5. That was their regular speed. However, Wargaming did decide to tweak this stat. Other slight weakness the Boise has on maneuverability is going to be the turn circle. The Helena sits at 680 meters, whereas the Boise is 690. It's only 10 meters, and mostly you're not going to notice it in game. Concealment is the same over both ships. Now, going back to the consumables, the Boise also has another weakness in that it cannot choose, it has to choose between defensive AA or hydroacoustic search. It cannot slot both. Now, I recommend going with defensive fire. At Tier 7, you see a lot of carriers, especially with Saipans and Kagas being the premium mainstay at that tier, as well as a lot of Tier 6 carriers who haven't realized yet that they don't want to do those lines anymore. So you will run into carriers. Without defensive AA, your AA is not going to do anything. With it, you're going to get some decent values, and you will shoot down planes. You are no Atlanta, you are no Flint, however, you are very decent at it. Now, as far as recommended builds for the captain, this is my Worcester captain, and I generally don't want to change anything up about this ship or this captain, so this is what I run for it. Now, you could argue that instead of running Jack of all trades, and Demo Expert, you could try to go with an AFT build. Superintendent, not really necessary on the ship, however, sometimes you do get 4 heals off, so I actually do want to stick with Superintendent, especially since it is my Worcester captain. Concealment Expert and IFHE are pretty much mandatory on the ship, however. Other than that, let's go ahead and jump on into the replay, and I can show you off the USS Boise. Alright, and jumping into the replay, I am going to be a bottom tier ship on the map Shatter today. I did spawn over by the A cap. It is domination game mode, so I do want to go ahead and play this cap. Now, with the Boise, you do have that 13.6 kilometer range, so you need to figure out ways to get your ship into the fight. These guns, the 15 152mm guns, when they hit, they pack a devastating punch, and if you can figure out ways to get that into the fight, you will make quick damage with this ship, and you will be able to hit enemies very, very hard. Now, one thing I do also want to go ahead and cover with this ship is that because of the heal, you are very, very good at fighting other cruisers. It excels at it because the damage the enemy cruiser does to you is going to be comparable to the damage you do to them. However, you have the ace in the hole where you can just use your heal, and the enemy cruiser is going to be very, very limited in its ability to actually fight back. Now, defending this A-cap, being bottom tier, I do not want to get deleted by a battleship right off the start. Now, this ship does have a very good armor profile, and that if you do maintain your angle, you are very, very hard to Citadel. The Helena is the same way. The Citadel really only extends from behind the bridge to about the bottom of the other bridge, so just right in between the smokestacks. It is waterline, it's very small. Underneath the guns, it is exceptionally well below the water, so if you actually angle into ships, you're most likely not going to get Citadel. You should just be penned. The same goes for the back of the ship. Now, with only 33,300 health, that pen damage is going to hurt, and that is why the Helena does have to play a little bit more cautiously than Boise. However, once you do realize when you can go ahead and go in with this ship, you are going to want to, because when you can get these guns on target, you are going to just obliterate your opponents. Equal tier battleships like the Nagato and the Colorado are especially fun to shoot. Anything bottom tier is also really good to shoot, as well as any cruisers that you face are also going to take massive HE salvos from you. Now, with these guns, you are going to want to make sure that you do have them pointed in the right direction when you do want to take a shot. Now, if you do have to flip them around, which you will be seeing later in this replay, you will be able to do so quickly. However, with most ships, you just always want to have your guns on target. And there you can see a perfect salvo on that Buffalo right there, 6,000 damage and setting a fire. And then 10 seconds later, another several thousand damage is on its way. Now, this Buffalo did push into our whole team for some reason and then beached broadside to me in Seattle. I see he's on a ton of health, so I go ahead and switch to the AP and then let it loose right as he gets knocked down from 17k to about 1,000 when I take my shot. And right as my shells go in, I get a nice kill secure. One shell hit for 100 damage. So I did have a fire on him. I might have gotten the kill anyways, but you never really know. Kills aren't really that important in this game. Finishing off an enemy ship is, but if anyone's ever going to be complaining about a kill steal or anything like that, yeah, it's just not worth your time. Now, enemy Cleveland is all the way up there. We will be seeing him later. I do not want to chase him. I want to play for the caps. Chasing that guy is the worst decision because he's going to take you away from objectives, whereas you want to play around the objectives the whole time. You see a lot of people like to chase DDs around the map when there's no way they're ever going to catch them, or you'll see people chasing after the carrier. And sure, you might be able to kill the carrier or something like that, but you're just going to waste a lot of your time. Now, enemy shores pops up in the middle of the map, and you gotta wonder, what is that ship doing here? He goes full broadside to me, and for those who don't know, the shores has absolutely no belt armor. Now, in the Boise, AP is an ammo type you're never really gonna want to shoot that often. Now, if a very poorly armored cruiser like a shores gives you a flat broadside, sure, go ahead and take it. But for the most part, HE is going to be your go-to. Your HE is going to damage and hit most of the ships it hits very hard, and that's what you're going to want to get, is those consistent results from the HE salvos. Your AP, if you don't place it perfectly, is going to do nothing, and that sucks when that happens. So Ships like a Shores, a Kirov, more like an Omaha, yeah, you're going to want to use AP on those, but once they are angled, it's going to be better to probably just use HE. Go ahead and swing the guns around. You can see how fast they did turn to the other side. Take a few shots at the Cleveland. Not really trying to, kill him, just keep him going the opposite direction because I know I'm not going to chase him. So I just want him to keep running away just for the time being. Now, I am going to be playing around the B cap a lot here, which is going to be an area that you do and you don't want to be in the Boise because you got to get close to do damage, but you also don't want to be the focus fire too early in the game. I will eventually have to start using these heals once the fighting at B grows a little bit hotter. Now, the enemy team over here on the A side completely collapsed, and somehow on the C side of things, our team also collapsed. So, game's pretty much tied up at this point. Both teams are missing 2 cruisers, a DD, and a battleship, and the points are pretty much equal. Enemy team does cap B right there. However, with our team about to push into it, we are going to be contesting it and hopefully capping it back from the enemy team. Now, just going to want to keep pushing in here. I am wary of the threats that I have with the Nagato on my left. However, I do have a Iowa and what appears to be a Monarch going to be on my right. And I do notice that there is a Neptune in that smoke screen, so I am going to also have to worry about him as well. Now, I don't have expert marksman on this ship, so whenever after I switch to AP, it's better to just unload the full HE volley before I do anything. Eventually, I do decide that I'm going to be turning right soon, so I want to get my guns pointed to the left. Go ahead and just look at the ship, because I like looking at the ships in game. This was recorded from my stream, so if you ever want to check out videos there, or see some live content, that link will also be in the description. Hashtag humblebrag. Alright, so go ahead and pull a hard right turn. Now, I am not spotted yet. I did see the Gneisenau on the map, and I did not want to push into 2 battleships, especially not a Gneisenau who can tort me. So go ahead and shoot at the Nagato, and then you can see just massive damage numbers. Didn't set a fire, unfortunately. I think he does have fire prevention. I was going to take a second shot at him. However, the Neptune is revealed, and seeing on how low HP he is, we have the potential to get him out almost immediately. Take the shot. Unfortunately, it doesn't kill him, but leaves him on nothing, and I do see that AP coming in from the Seattle. Now, I'm not 100% sure of that Seattle's AP, so I take my own shot. Luckily, the Seattle does get him killed. This Bismarck actually stopped me here. I wanted to continue going left, however, he forced me to be going hard right. In order to keep my guns on target, I do intentionally betray here, so this isn't like an accident or anything. I wanted to keep my guns pointed towards the Nagato, and if I'm fairly angled, I can tank whatever damage they throw out at me. Unfortunately, because of this angle, I can only get 4 of my guns on target, but 4 is better than none. So go ahead and take the shot at the Gneisenau. I'm going to keep up fire on him as long as I can until eventually the Nagato does pop up again. I want to shoot the Nagato because his guns are a significant threat compared to the Gneisenau, and his armor is significantly weaker, so I can get much better damage results on him. And actually, this is the definition of a perfect salvo. That is 15 HE pens out of 15 shells fired. It's very rare. One thing I have noticed about this ship is it feels very accurate as compared to typical light cruisers. Light cruisers usually feel very shotgunny, in my opinion. A lot of cruisers feel that way as well. So this ship feels very accurate when I pull the salvo, or sorry, when I pull the trigger and the salvo's in the air. And if you can hit more shells, the better. Now, go ahead and just keep shooting this Gneisenau. I want to get behind this island before he does get into torpedo range or decides to shoot at me. Unfortunately, it does look like he was paying attention and does pull his guns immediately to shoot at me and does take a nice shot and gets 15k on me. Luckily, the Citadel is small enough that I most likely won't ever be dev struck in this situation, so I can pretty much avoid it. Alright. And now I'll go ahead and just jump forward a bit. Alright, jumping ahead. I am just pushing down south here. I don't want to cut back into B and try to contest those battleships head on. I do want to get their flanks, hopefully make them turn their guns and their attention away from the cap. However, you can see how slow this ship is, and that the speed really does come into play when you are trying to cover distance like this. Go ahead and pop the heal. Again, I don't recommend saving your heal, trying to get the most out of it. It's never going to happen. I wouldn't say never, but it's so rare that it actually happens that it's better to just pop the heal than it is to try and force a full heal. You can get more than, say, a standard cruiser heal would get you, so you want to just go ahead and use it whenever you need it as a form of just some quick repairs. It really helps out in cruiser fights and engagements like that. Now, I get spotted here, and since I am not able to spot any of these battleships, I know immediately that it is the DD that is currently outspotting me, the Shiratsuyu. Now, what I didn't expect is him to pop up in front of me. DDs do not want to challenge this kind of a ship. With fast turret traverse, it's always going to get its guns really quickly on target, and with 15 shells, it is scary. Go ahead and pull the trigger and do 4,200 damage to him. Now this salvo looks really good, hits 6 shells and then does a very small amount of damage, so apparently I must have hit some modules or the torp tubes there that absorbed all the damage. He does the smart thing, he does turn away and go dark. He did drop torpedoes on me, however, with Japanese torpedoes being spotted from miles away, the only way those are going to hit me is if I turned into them. However, they were pretty easy to dodge. Unfortunately, it does take my front 2 guns out of the fight, but I am able to get the back guns and the middle turret in there to shoot on the Nagato. He is going hard into the cap, and we don't really have anyone else there to contest him. I unfortunately had 3 teammates go wide into the enemy spawn chasing a carrier that wasn't there. Props to this Kaga player on the enemy team. He did position his ship excellently, and he played a very smart game, especially with this spotting. Now, Nagato does enter B, and I do lose the shot on him because of this mountain, so what I'm going to want to do now that the torpedoes have passed, try to get any damage on the Monarch I can. The Monarch is pushing into our big cluster of 3 ships over there. However, I don't really, know how well they're going to be able to handle that tier 8. So, turn around, I want to start pushing into the Nagato and go ahead and take him out. However, I do notice A starts getting capped, which means that the Cleveland has re-entered the fight, and I am being hard spotted by the Shiratsuyu. Now, the Shiratsuyu, I do not know if he has more torpedoes on the way. I did not see a smoke screen, so I assume torpedo reload booster until I am proven otherwise. I go ahead and turn out. Now, I could have pushed into the Nagato if the Shiratsuyu was not there. I would not have the fear. I have the health pool to be able to tank this. Go ahead and tap the M key just to give me a better idea of which way he's going, and take the shot on him. Nagato on that much HP should be something I can kill in 3 salvos at the most, and so I went ahead and pulled the trigger there, take the second shot, and this almost kills him. Unfortunately, doesn't quite kill him. However, I do get a fire with the back gun. Just to be safe, I do release another 2 shots at him, and now I need to focus my attention fully on the Cleveland. Now, that is a tier 8 cruiser with significantly better DPM than me on almost twice the amount of HP. So this is where you're going to see how the heal can really help this ship out, and how this player really played it wrong. He just stops his ship and makes it a very easy target for me. With shells as floaty as these, you want to keep moving at all times. And with him, any damage I get on him is going to be permanent. Unfortunately, with him stopping and me being turned out already, he's actually going outside of my gun range, so what I need to do is go ahead and turn around and push into him. He does decide that he didn't want to back up anymore and does reshift into going forward here very shortly, so I will be able to get closer to him and take the engagement to him. Now, I am going to want to try to break line of sight as well, because if he does have the shot on me and I do not have the ability to hit him, I want to go dark. Now, the Shiratsuyu actually has pulled away from me, and so I'm not going to have to worry about him anymore. And with breaking line of sight, I hopefully can go dark. Unfortunately, there are planes that are too close to me, so this Cleveland can see me. He unfortunately sets a fire on me with that salvo, but for the most part, he's not really doing much damage to me. And the closer I get to this island, the quicker I'll be able to take his shot away from me. I know that since he is pushing forward, he's soon going to lose the ability to do any damage to me, and eventually I will be having this heal come up off cooldown again. Nice thing about these heals is they do have a decently quick reload on them, so you can get them off in quick succession if need be. It's not like a Gascon or a Massachusetts, but it's nothing like the Conqueror. It's standard 80-second cooldown time. Now, my health bar has entered the red, however, I do not want to use the heal yet. I will be taking some more damage from the Cleveland, and this is my last ability to heal up. Now, thankfully, the Kaga did take his planes away, if only briefly, and I do get spotted by the Shiratsuyu, who has moved into B. Now, I see the Cleveland right there before I go behind the island. I take a speculative shot at him. Unfortunately, it does not get me that much damage, but it does help out with knowing exactly where the Cleveland's going and what I'm going to want to do here. Now, I decide that my best course is to just go ahead and push forward. We need to get back into the caps. Unfortunately, with the Monarch, I did have my teammates. The King George died to him, and the Buffalo and the Mahan turned all the way away from the other cap and ran for the hills. It sucks, but unfortunately they did that. they're pretty much immune to the Kaga, and he can't really do anything to him because of Blue Buffalo's AA. Cleveland does show up again. This should be a pretty quick fight to just go ahead and finish him off now. My health bar is getting pretty low, but I'm not really that worried because I know that with this heal, he'd have to get another shot into me. Go ahead and pop the heal before he hits me. It brings me down to about 2,000 HP, but I do heal myself back up to 10k. Now, unfortunately, this is where the game is essentially over. The enemy team has completely secured all of the caps, and with time running down, we're not going to be able to get it back. The Shiratsuyu will not be seen again. He tries to tort me, and the Kaga is never found. But that is my opinion of the USS Boise and the Nueve De Julio. It is definitely one that I actually recommend if you have the captain for it. It is a fun ship to play. You're eventually going to get 2 ships out of it, and it is quite strong if played properly. Now, it does have quite a bit of a skill ceiling, I tend to believe, but if you play it to its strengths, it will reward you greatly with high amounts of damage. So, thank you all for stopping by. Have a great rest of your day.